One would argue that Bruce Lee looked into other arts, other styles to maximize his ability to fight. The most common answers that I hear all the time, Bruce Lee looked into Western boxing, fencing, and Wing Chun. So if he did that to develop JKD, then I'll do the same. This argument gives these practitioners an excuse, a consent to observe traditional way of combat and adopt its ideas into their training, disregarding the notes that Bruce Lee left behind, which already contains the answers to which these practitioners seek. Let's be real honest. Most of you read and dismissed the information contained in the book Tao Jeet Kune Do. You heard that right, dismissed. The passages probably went over your head, and no matter how much you tried, you still couldn't get what the hell Bruce Lee was talking about. And what did you do next? Put the Tao Jeet Kune Do on your bookshelf and forgot about it, collecting up dust. When the book Commentaries on the Martial Way was released by John Little, you bought the book in hopes to finally understand what Jeet Kune Do was. But unfortunately, just like the Tao, you couldn't get the passages brought before you. What the hell am I reading here? Again, putting the Commentaries on the Martial Way in your bookshelf next to the Tao Jeet Kune Do and forgot about it, collecting up dust. Until one day, an actual Bruce Lee student shows you a concept, a way to easily understand how to practice Jeet Kune Do. Take parts that are effective in each martial art and make that your own, following the ways of traditional thinking. Everyone is happy, and everyone is no longer confused. You finally found a way to understand Jeet Kune Do as per Bruce Lee. Meanwhile, the Tao Jeet Kune Do and the Commentaries on the Martial Way is still sitting in your bookshelf, collecting up dust. One would think to take those books out of the bookshelf and start to reread, quote unquote, understanding Jeet Kune Do from the years of training. Nah, why would you want to do that? Someone is already teaching you the true art of Jeet Kune Do. No need to read notes circa 1960s to the 1970s from a man who's been dead for almost quite some time. It's irrelevant, right? Why question what you've been taught? It wouldn't make sense to ask what passages means in these two books. It would be a big waste of time. A brochure from the IMB Academy back in the 1980s or 90s summarized this concept of training. Quote, "We supply you with the three basic ranges of various martial arts disciplines. You practice them and make your own determination of what best fits your needs. Every individual, based on their abilities and experience, has their own unique Jeet Kune Do tactics. IMB takes the position that these are some of our principles, theories, and concepts that are practical, simple, and direct. You have your own method. Welcome to your own way, Jeet Kune Do." Since then, this concept has become law. Without referencing Bruce Lee's notes on Jeet Kune Do, this law is the staple of training. Again, no questions asked. Suddenly, right out of the blue, another Bruce Lee student stepped into the light. He started to teach Jeet Kune Do, but not in the law of concepts. What the hell is going on here? This confused the Jeet Kune Do community because cross-training is the foundation of Jeet Kune Do, right? The blending, the mixing. According to this Bruce Lee student, the science of the human body, or body mechanics, is what Bruce Lee advocated to Jeet Kune Do. Now, how can that be? If two students learned Jeet Kune Do from Bruce Lee himself, how can both teach different views of the art? You were told that Bruce Lee studied and trained in 27 arts of combat, and he was so unique that he incorporated that into Jeet Kune Do. But now, this Bruce Lee student who appeared right out of the blue is stating that he looked into these arts only to find the weaknesses. That's ridiculous. Why study all these arts and not take what is effective? Wouldn't that make sense? You need to learn many ways to fight, and these arts from different countries provide the answer. Then you had a revelation. Let's look into the Tao Jeet Kune Do and see if this Bruce Lee student who suddenly appeared right out of the blue is telling the truth. You take the Tao off the shelf and wipe the dust off the top of the pages. It's been a while, right? You then go page by page looking to debunk this Bruce Lee student who appeared right out of the blue. Aha! Drawings of judo throws, grappling, but no passages mentioning adding judo. Okay, what about Kali? Kali's a big part of Jeet Kune Do, right? After going through the book, nothing on Kali. Page after page, you cannot find any references of Kali, Judo, or the 27 arts that you were taught. You then start to question, am I really learning the true art of Jeet Kune Do? Then you shake your head. Nah, that can't be. Why would my teacher, an original Bruce Lee student, teach me something different? Now you take it upon yourself to investigate this Bruce Lee student who appeared right out of the blue that advocates being technical rather than being conceptual. Then you come across an interview article. The interview was conducted by Paul Barrett. He asked this Bruce Lee student who appeared right out of the blue this question. What would you say was the core of what Bruce Lee taught you? Answer. The basic core of Jeet Kune Do is an emphasis on simplicity. In the beginning, we concentrated on basic stance and footwork, basic tools like punches and kicks. It is essentially a work in progress. One day, work on one thing, then the next day you are trying to perfect another. Not really trying to learn too many new things, but rather a refining process. The learning process is really in three different stages. The first one, learning the form and the right body mechanics. Second stage, learning the coordination and balance. And the last stage is how to apply all this. However, you are constantly going back and forth between the stages. There's always something new to learn about each stage later on in the learning process. This is basically the process that Bruce Lee taught me with. Refining process. This Bruce Lee student who appeared right out of the blue didn't mention anything about studying other arts. No mention of absorbing what is useful, discard what is useless, and add specifically what is your own. Then you go back to the Tao Jeet Kune Do that suddenly found the answer you were looking for. Quote, the man who is clear and simple does not choose. What is. Action based on an idea is obviously the action of choice, and such action is not liberating. On the contrary, it creates further resistance, further conflict, assumed pliable awareness. End quote. Now you're thinking to yourself, Bruce can't mean this about all martial arts. You train to gather traditional martial arts to create your own Jeet Kune Do, just like Bruce Lee did. Then you keep reading, quote, the classical man is just a bundle of routine, ideas, and tradition. When he acts, he's translating every living moment in terms of the old, end quote. Wait a minute, in terms of old, you keep reading, and every passage in the Tao Jeet Kune Do is somehow conflicting with what you've been learning for all this time. When you get to the bottom of page 11, you then start to question what the true art of Jeet Kune Do really is. Quote, for security, the unlimited living is turned into something dead, a chosen pattern that limits. To understand Jeet Kune Do, one ought to throw away all ideals, patterns, styles. In fact, he should throw away even the concepts of what is or isn't ideal in Jeet Kune Do. Can you look at a situation without naming it? Naming it, making it a word, causes fear. End quote.